What's up, everybody? Well, today I am here to bring to you another vacuum that is owned by one of my family members. This is a replacement to one of their older vacuums. What I have right here is a Hoover Elite Rewind Plus. This is one of the newer budget-friendly vacuums offered by Hoover. This was bought brand new at Walmart for I think it was just barely about $100, give or take. Not too sure on the price. But I actually am getting my first opportunity to test run this thing after first getting some time spent with it. In fact, there's the box right over here that I was sold brand new in. There's kind of an idea of what comes with it. This isn't my first unboxing video. This vacuum has been run a couple times, so this is mostly going to be my first initial thoughts of the vacuum. And I don't want this video to be made to sound critical or discourage anyone who wants to buy the vacuum. You guys can do whatever you want. I'm just going to give you my honest opinions about the vacuum. And I thought this would make interesting content for anyone who hasn't made videos of this vacuum already. So this vacuum is actually currently owned by my grandfather on my mom's side of the family. This was made to replace his Kenmore Progressive with direct drive. I do have a video of that vacuum, so I will link the video to that in the description box of this video. And initially, when I heard that he eventually sold his, well, actually he didn't sell the Progressive direct drive. He actually gave it away to a friend of his who needed a vacuum, which honestly I was disappointed about, because the Progressive direct drive was a fantastic vacuum. It was probably one of the last good Sears Kenmore uprights that were sold of the time. It had the 2-stage motor before I went to the inducer single stage. It obviously had the direct drive dual motor feature, which basically puts a little small motor inside the brush roll that doesn't even use a belt. So when I heard he went from a dual motor Kenmore Progressive with direct drive to a Walmart grade Hoover Elite Rewind Plus, which, interesting thing about the Hoover Elite name, this is not the first vacuum to have the Elite name. If anyone remembers years ago, I think it was somewhere back in the late 80s to the early 90s, when Hoover introduced the Elite lineup of vacuums, which were more like a bagged, lightweight, direct air upright vacuum, which, if you grew up in the 90s like I did, that series of vacuum was everywhere. And frankly, it's one of the reasons why I got into vacuum collecting. Yes, there are people who actually collect vacuums. I know it may sound strange on the surface, but I think we're all allowed to have our own niche and quirks and the things we like and have interest in. We can have it to ourselves. There may be some criticisms here and there, but don't let that discourage you from collecting the weird looking stuff that you like. You do what you do. So, being that I'm a vacuum collector myself, I do like the opportunity occasionally to get to run a newer vacuum to see how its quality has gotten, if it's any better or worse than vacuums of yesteryears. And this is not my first Elite Rewind that I got to use. I remember some time ago, back when I was living in overseas in Germany in high school, when my dad was stationed over there at one time. I remember one of the houses we stayed at, they had an LG branded version of the Hoover Elite Rewind. If anyone knows, the Elite Rewind over here was an LG made Hoover, but it was obviously under the Hoover name. But since it was made by LG, in other markets when that vacuum was sold, it had to be put under the LG name. It couldn't be put under the Hoover name. Which some may have that vacuum and they say it's pretty good cleaner, but I haven't had too much experience with it since I've only used the European version that was branded as an LG, but is still overall the same vacuum. And now when I've gotten to this being a Walmart version and is made much later, long after Hoover was later sold to Tektronix Industries, or TTI for short, I went into using this vacuum expecting to hate it, because TTI Hoover is not what it used to be, or the Hoover name in general is not what it used to be. Because there was a time where Hoover was its own company, and then to save itself, it was eventually purchased by Maytag, and now it was unfortunately sold to TTI, which completely gave the name an identity crisis. But enough of my yammering. Let's get into the overall look of the cleaner. I do like the color of this as a nice like royal blue color. You have your looped handle around the back here that has a nice grip. Yeah, the plastic does feel a bit cheap at times, but and see how you twist it, it kind of moves the handle with it. That's kind of the thing with budget vacuums. So, but the thing is, even though the plastic is so thin, the vacuum is surprisingly pretty lightweight. It's not the lightest. I've actually seen vacuums a little bit lighter, but at least it's got some good build quality with it having this much weight to it. You have right here your little airflow indicator right here with power on. If it's red, then you got to check it for clogs or clean out the filters. And this button right here is what releases the dirt bin. And it is a dual cyclonic system. You have one cyclone above here and another below there that catches all the big dirt. Any dirt that gets sucked through this upper cyclone right here will pass through a filter that if you twist this upper piece counterclockwise and pull off, it'll get trapped on this filter right here, which I may need to do some cleaning out, but this is very similar to that of the Hoover React series. This is the same style of filter. I do not know whether or not this is the exact same filter that the React takes. I do know that the filter design is very similar to it. So let's go ahead and reattach this back on. It snaps in place. It goes through the filter and it comes out through a tube that passes down into where it goes to the main suction motor that generates the suction, and it exhausts out the top here. So this unfortunately does not have a very good post-motor filter system, but budget vacuums, that's, you kind of get what you paid for. And which, by the way, the post-motor filter is right down here, and surprisingly, this is a HEPA filter. And being that this has been used quite a bit, it does have some dust collection on it. So that is pretty cool. It seems that Hoover definitely wanted to have this have good filtration, but the system isn't really sealed very good. So yeah, you are going to have to be cleaning this out so often if you want excellent filtration. You do have here your 5-position carpet height adjustments. I always leave it in the middle for the pile of this carpet. You do have here a automatic cord rewind, which is a nice feature for an upright. This is a feature you'll mostly see on canisters. So basically just hit the foot pedal right here to retract the cord. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's a bit finicky at times. See what I mean? Come on, all the way in. Yep, sometimes it does need a little help getting back in there. So anyway, along the back here, you do have your flexible hose, which the material is not the best of shape. I think this hose may be very easy to kink. But you do have a little connection right here down at the bottom. You have your big wand right there. It does latch in place, which is kind of nice. You do have here your single extension wand, and as well as pop out crevice tool. And over here you do have your dusting brush. Right here's your pedal release. And here is the model number to the cleaner. It is Hoover Cleaner model UH71200 for Tetronic Floor Care. And has 120 volts, 60 hertz, 12 amps. Distributed by Hoover Incorporated in Charlotte, North Carolina. Made in Vietnam. That is interesting. I'm not too sure why they made it in Vietnam of all places. Maybe it's kind of give people the idea that, or at least have the peace of mind that it doesn't say made in China, which we all know is a run as far as you can reason for when you see a label that says that, because usually anything that's Chinese made is not the best of quality. We'll see how this holds up over the years. And let's go ahead and flip this thing underneath to show you the underside. This has a very interesting quad row brush roll with blue strips and white strips. This is very similar to what Bissell uses on their vacuums, only theirs is more of like an oblique style, which this one has literally 4 rows of brush rolls. Bissell only uses a 2 row, but like say one area right here would have the blue strips and this one would be white strips, and they wouldn't have a whole dedicated row for another type of strips. So these blue strips are nice and stiff. The white ones are a bit softer. So I do believe this was mostly made to combat the issues with picking up stubborn pet hair, which a lot of budget vacuums have been experimenting with these days. Bissell with a little bit different of a brush roll design, one with stiff bristles, and then the other side would have the soft bristles. This one just puts 1 row of stiff bristles, the other of soft bristles, and they put 2 rows of each. Quite interesting, but as you can see, it is a helix design and the suction path is right here in the center. I do not know why they didn't make this a chevron to funnel everything into the center. That would have been much nicer to see, but it's not a major deal. And it does have the Hoover's famous wind tunnel technology, which is nothing more than extra suction channels to channel the airflow through the cleaner. And now I think I've pretty much talked about this vacuum as much as I can, so let's go ahead and unravel the cord to see this thing in action. See, there's a little stretch mark right there. That's mostly made so you don't overstretch the cord. So now let's go ahead and plug this guy in. And now we will go ahead and turn this thing on and demo it for you guys. So, power switch, for whatever reason, is down here. I don't like the power switch setup on this. You have to reach all the way down just behind the cleaner just to get to it. So, here we go. definitely does have great pickup performance, but like any bagless vacuum I've ever used, it picks up so well when you first use it, but then you get to a point where it picks up so good where it just clumps up the inside, and sometimes you tend to lose suction when it plugs the filter. So let's just do a little tool demo before we end it. Very good tool suction out of this thing, I will say. How long of a reach you get with the hose. Pretty good vacuum for a budget vacuum. Definitely is better than most Bissell's I've used. Because there was another Bissell that I have featured on the channel, which the quality of this felt exactly, just completely cheap to the point that I'm surprised how that thing hasn't fallen apart after just a couple of uses. But this, I do think, is somewhat better built than say Bissell's, but it still suffers from the fact that it's just a budget vacuum, and basically it symbolizes the old phrase, you get what you paid for. But it does include features like a retractable cord, which I'm going to go ahead and see if it'll try to retract altogether on camera. Sometimes you gotta do help guide it back in. But that is one nice convenient feature to have instead of just having to wrap the cord around entirely. Well, everybody, oh, and definitely quite an amazing pickup. But I hope you've enjoyed this first impressions video and first look on the Hoover Elite Rewind Plus. Be sure to stay tuned, and don't forget to like, rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.